Sit. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Gacha Life. It's a video game that is basically kind of like The Sims that is modernized to the TikTok generation. Well, one of the more interesting points about Gacha Life is that it is not exactly similar to how The Sims is. It is actually, in my opinion, more similar to something kind of like Pet Society, Our World, Club Penguin if you know what those are. But what it is kind of similar to The Sims more of is that it is filling the same markets within the gaming space that The Sims would have filled within The Sims' heyday. What is interesting about Gacha Life is that it is taking that kind of same market and demands within that gaming space and modernizing it to the TikTok generation. How so? Well, we need not look further in how I even found out about this to begin with. In creating the video just prior to this one, I was looking up this story, Under the Oak Tree. What is Under the Oak Tree? Under the Oak Tree is kind of like this story that yada yada yada. Just watch the video if you're kind of curious, but in researching about Under the Oak Tree, I was also looking up about things that is quite adjacent to it. Stories that are not the same but of this similar genre. One of those stories is Roxana. And when I was looking up Roxana on YouTube, I basically click and search Roxana on YouTube. One of the most popular videos that was recommended to me was this. What the heck is this? Literally, my exact reaction when I was watching is this. What the heck is this? Like, why is this one of the most popular videos covering Roxana? Especially considering what I'm looking here is that, I don't know, is this an animation? Is this kind of like an art style that people commonly use within the YouTube sphere that is covering webtoons and etc.? But what if the interesting thing about it is, I don't know if I'm judging too hard here, but it seems like the art style that is going on right here is catered towards a more younger demographic. But here's the thing, Under the Oak Tree and Roxana, one of the things about the genre is that it's definitely not catered towards a more younger demographic. It has quite a lot of graphic scenes in both the adult content space, okay? Basically, the story itself is definitely not catered towards a more younger demographic, but what the heck is this? This is literally one of the more popular videos on Roxana. It literally has 250,000 views. What the heck is going on? I was basically quite curious and I looked it up a bit more, and what I found out is a field that I was surprised to not know about at all of this space called Gacha Life. The thing about it is, a lot of the videos covering on Gacha Life got quite a lot of views, and I myself, I'm neither proud or insecure about this, but I'm basically, I gotta admit, by this point is kind of a fact that I'm quite chronically online. I do spend quite a lot of my time online all the time. I don't think that's quite an apt way to put it, but essentially, I'm chronically online to a relative degree, but I'm also quite interested in a lot of different fields. I'm interested in a lot of stuff that I'm not even the targeted demographic, right? Under the Oak Tree or Roxana, these two things, I'm not the main targeted demographic of these contents and these stories. But then, I basically get exposed to this Gacha Life space, which is relatively speaking quite popular, and yet I've never heard anything about it prior to being exposed to this video that I just watched. What the heck is this? How come I didn't know anything about this? My curiosity meter is basically spiking into the roof. I basically got myself an excuse to look up this thing that I was quite interested in. Apologize and we'll let you go. Would I listen to you? When I me and my colleague, we're busy, we'll take care of your kids later. Consider yourself lucky we're letting you go. Okay. I don't know. What I got really curious about is that, upon looking it up a little bit more, it seems to be a game, right? I'm basically walking you through my actual experience of looking up a little bit more of what Gacha Life actually is. I look it up a bit more and I found out that it's actually a game. But based on these contents that I'm watching here, what the heck is the game? I don't see it. All I see is just animations and people, I don't know, basically using it as a way to fantasize about these things that is quite funny to me, to be honest. But maybe that's too judgmental. But regardless, the interesting about it is that I actually don't quite see the gameplay part out of it, out of the videos that are made out of the Gacha Life stuff. So I got curious and actually look up how the game is actually played itself, because I was, what is the gameplay part out of it? And interestingly enough, another interesting thing popped up as I look it up. Thankfully, my curiosity doesn't force me to actually pay for this game, and I can actually play this game for free on the browser. Oh, and voila, the game itself is basically this character creation stuff with a lot of different characters, and you can kind of dress them up. Again, this is why it's kind of similar to something like The Sims, something like Pet Society, Our World, and Club Penguin. I'm bringing those up a little bit more because I actually have a bit more experience on those. And also, I genuinely think that this game is actually more similar to Pet Society, Our World, or Club Penguin rather than The Sims. While it is more similar to The Sims in the sense that you can create multiple characters and you can kind of control all these characters and you can kind of manipulate them to create all these scenarios that you want to play around with them. In those games, Pet Society, Our World, and Club Penguin, basically the whole appeal is to create this one single character that is your personal virtual avatar that you use to basically socialize with other people. It is more similar in the sense, in a way, something like your VR chat, for example. VR chat is a more modernized way of those kind of feeling. They're more one-to-one feel essentially. However, Gacha Life is still quite different to those two genres in the way that it is modernizing the appeal to the current TikTok generation. How so? In actually quite a lot of ways. For example, the monetization system of the games like Our World, Pet Society, Club Penguin, or The Sims is basically you get to pay money to buy additional content that is in the form of outfits, maybe characters, emotes, professions, I don't know, character design, presets, and etc. Or just the game itself. But Gacha Life is monetizing it, well, it's very apparent in the name itself, through Gacha. Gacha is this lottery system that is very much a modern culture of monetization, where you basically pay a fee to basically kind of randomize the things that you can unlock. You will get at the end of the day kind of loot boxes and etc. It is very much the modern way of monetization because not only is it really monetizable, it's really lucrative to basically introduce gacha in any game really. Just look at Genshin Impact and etc. But the whole gacha system itself, we gotta admit, is quite fun. Oh god, I was just saying those words. In any case, the monetization system of the Gacha Life games, and again, it's games, it's not Gacha Life. The producer of this game, Lunime Studios or whatever, is creating a lot of different games of the similar kind of appeal to Gacha Life, and all of them are quite popular. Quite, relatively speaking. Like for example, Gacha Life itself has over 100 million downloads in Play Store, and it has 3.83 million reviews with 4.4 stars average on the Play Store. That is quite impressive, mate. Not only that, the game studio itself created quite a lot of different games that feels, again, the same kind of niche. Wonder End Zero, Gacha Life 2, Gacha Club, Gacha Life. That's a lot of games, and quite a lot of them are quite popular. Well, I think it's more successful in the Gacha Life genre with Gacha Life 2, Gacha Club, Gacha Life itself. But again, all of these are very much filling the same niche, and it's modernized to hell and back. That's it. In any case, this one I think is I don't know. It's basically tagging everything, but I think this is not Gacha Life, or maybe it is Gacha Life and it's also mixed with Gacha Life 2 or Gacha Club. But what is very interesting is also that this video is very popular, dude. It got 20 million views in YouTube Shorts, and based on the tags that I'm seeing on all these videos, it's even more popular in TikTok. Holy crap, man. A lot of people are playing this game and I've never heard of anything about it. I'm talking as if I should know everything just because I'm online all the time. Again, that's kind of stupid assumption, but whatever. I just find it really interesting that these things are very popular, and the video itself, I don't want to judge too hard, at least not this early, okay? Now, the other thing that makes me think that Gacha Life is actually not that similar with The Sims, because here's the thing with The Sims, right? Despite it being a space where you can kind of sandboxily create all these characters in which you can play around with them and, I don't know, basically create their virtual fantasy world for you to play around with that is more mundane, right, than the fantasy world like the MMORPG like Gaia Online, Final Fantasy, and etc. The Sims is more so mundane. It basically provides this space for you to sandbox these characters that is more doing more mundane stuff, doing all these professions and etc. I'm over explaining again, aren't I? God damn it. Basically, the appeal of The Sims, I think, is to provide that sandbox in which you can play with these characters, right? But despite it being quite similar in the Gacha Life where you can create a lot of these different characters that you can customize and dress up however you want, the appeal is not quite the same. It is not providing that sandbox in which you can play with these characters. Well, it is true, but I think the appeal of Gacha Life is to basically provide a socialization factor. Similar to Club Penguin, similar to Our World, similar to Pet Society, it is actually quite a space in which you can socialize with your peers. However, that socialization factor is also modernized for the TikTok era of the internet. That's it. Honestly, sometimes, most of the times when I'm watching these Gacha Life shorts and everything, most of the times I'm just basically confused. Like, what is the video about? What is the punchline? And why the heck does it have 80 million views? What the heck? What? Anyways, what are these things if not a space to basically socialize with your friends? A lot of my friends, basically the ones that use TikTok and etc., do these trends not to, well, maybe it's a bit more nuanced. I'm gonna put a bookmark to that. Basically, they kind of use it to follow trends, to do these TikTok dances, to basically kind of, I don't know, just share it with your friends, to have fun, and just basically socialize with one another. Despite how you feel towards TikTok or short form content, it is definitely very ubiquitous, especially on our younger demographic, like your kids or your teens. A lot of people, even people my age or even older than me, actually use these things to basically kind of socialize with one another, sharing your favorite TikToks, laughing along with it, creating your own TikToks as a way of self-expression, and etc., right? Essentially, making this a way of socialization that is very much for the TikTok era, to be honest. In the past, you would just go to these online spaces to talk, but to be honest, nowadays, people are communicating less and less anyway. A lot of people are basically sending DMs of just your favorite Instagram stories and etc. as a way to communicate or check up on one another. Do you guys do that with your friends? Do you send your friends your favorite memes? You probably do that as well, right? That is basically the most current form of socialization that is very much active. Things will probably change because the internet is very rapid, but right now with the popularity of short form content, that is definitely a big way of how people communicate. By the way, if you're watching this very close to when it's uploaded, Happy New Year's, mate! Yay! Back to the video. Again, the same feeling over and over again. What am I watching? Always. Every time I'm watching this, I'm more so confused, bemused, amused, interested, curious. I'm always confused, but afterwards watching it, like, what the heck? What is the appeal out of these videos, and why the heck are they so freaking popular? It has 15 million views, but what the heck is this? Anyways, I don't think I've been judging it quite too hard, but that is actually a conscious effort. I actually don't quite want to judge these things a little bit too hard. Despite how it may look, there's quite a lot of different ways in which you can kind of assume the bad things that is very clearly apparent even just at first glance, right? The gambling stuff is the biggest part. There's also quite a lot of things that is very good at a glance as well. I also feel like I quite lack the sufficient understanding or expertise per se of these fields, the kind of appeal of these things to the people that are actually using it, to be able to fairly judge it for essentially how you and me should feel about these things, towards these things, because at the end of the day, we are very biased towards our own feelings towards these things. Well, they are opinion pieces, but basically I don't feel like it's fair to judge it so harshly, okay? One of the bad things about it is very clearly the monetization system of it, right? Even though it's free to play on the browser, you can even pay online as well to basically unlock these things. And if you're not logged in, basically you're paying for nothing. Well, I don't actually know if you can do that actually. But essentially, despite how it may look, despite how gacha itself is quite an appealing system, it is actually very high in dopamine, it's very enjoyable. It is also the biggest part in why it's quite predatory. Because the whole system itself is very fun to play around with, it is very highly addictive as well. It's the same with gambling all around the world. Just like your uncle back in the other side of the world where everything's upside down, there's a whole epidemic of gambling over there. Even just in the US, there's also this gambling epidemic of this sports betting. Even here in Canada, there's quite this support from the government to basically support the activity of the lotto scratch, this lottery scratch system, because it makes a lot of money. And the same ranks true with Gacha Life itself, with Gacha, even with Genshin Impact and etc. It makes a lot of money because it is highly addictive, and the fact that it is being targeted towards a younger demographic is also quite problematic, because younger demographic will be learned and exposed to these gambling things very early, and they will lose all this self-control that they should have at a younger age. A lot of things that is very clearly bad. Not only that, the whole appeal of creating this content itself, it's great if they are creating this content, this fantasy world as a way of self-expression and etc. But what if they're trying to make this content to actually make it big on these social media platforms? They're hoping for this windfall to struck them so they can become a popular TikTok creator, YouTube Shorts creator, IG Reels creator, so they can become popular, become famous, so they can create more Gacha Life videos and etc. and have fun while doing it and get a lot of money, so they can do more gacha pulls on Gacha Life, spending more money into the games. Yeah, it's a bad cycle. Let me guess. What are you doing? Okay, so do you think those the people creating those things are thinking about these gacha stuff and etc. with any degree of depth? Probably not. So that's why there's quite a lot of degrees in which why it might be bad. Very apparently. It is also quite good because look at this video. Despite how it looks, we're laughing at it because we're judging it from the outside. But to be honest, I look at this, but honestly, this is probably what I would kind of fantasize about when I was younger. Well, I'm not that old. In the teens, where I have a lot of these hormones running within me for when I was in my puberty. I imagine a lot of this stuff, and this is quite funny back then. I would kind of cringe at it right now if I actually create those things with this Gacha Life stuff and actually post it on these things and basically immortalize all my embarrassing moments. But hey, they're embarrassing because back then we think they're funny and they're interesting enough to actually post this online, but now we know better and we consider that embarrassing with the knowledge afterwards, right? And also, I have these things called aphantasia. Well, not to the extreme degree, but here's the thing. What is aphantasia? Imagine a red apple. Close your eyes right now and imagine a red apple in your head. Can you visualize it to the concrete degree? Can you imagine that red apple, the shape? Can you turn it around? Is it super 3D in your head? Is it super concrete? Can you see the lights bouncing off the redness of the apple? Can you see the darker sides? Can you see the stalk? Can you imagine how it would feel on your hands? Well, I can't do that. Well, I could To a degree, I'm much better with photography. If I've seen photography of something, I can kind of imagine and remember it to a degree, but I can't actually visualize it in my head on my own to a high degree. There's limitations, and this is what is called aphantasia, your ability to basically visualize an image in your head. I have this aphantasia, right? I don't know if you do as well. I kind of would imagine maybe I'm basically pulling a conspiracy theory here, okay? I'm not having any scientific backing on this stuff, but this is just a theory that I have in my head. Maybe this is because of how I grew up with the internet, you know? I don't really need to spend a lot of time with myself to fantasize and daydream about this stuff. People in the past don't really get the chance to just go up the internet if they're curious about how rambutan look like, if you live in the West, and etc. You can just basically go to Google, look it up, and get to see what it actually looks like rather than imagining it based on the descriptions that other people give you. A fruit that has a lot of hair around it? Ugh, that looks disgusting. Then you look it up on Google on rambutan. Yeah, it's kind of disgusting if you just look at the outside. It tastes pretty good though, to be honest. In any case, kinda not practicing that ability to actually visualize in my head. Again, it's not a bad thing per se, it's just kinda limiting. Especially in the future with the advent of AI, it's possibly gonna get even worse. Any kind of imagination you would have in your head, you can just prompt these AI video generators, they could create their whole fantasy story that you're imagining in the future. If it comes, to be honest. Okay, enough headcanon. It's not necessarily true, okay? This is not based on scientific, it's just a conspiracy theory of what I'm imagining how it works. Okay, how about this? I imagine myself to be in a Japanese high school. I would find that to be quite difficult to visualize in my head. Imagine myself wearing a different dress, wearing a different outfit, and etc. And Gacha Life basically gives you a source to basically express those kind of ideas with something more visually concrete. I don't have to rely on my visual imagination that is quite lacking in this sense. I could just straight up pull up Gacha Life. Again, it's free to play in the browser, you can play it right now, and actually create these characters and create this sandbox of these characters doing whatever I want them to be. I could even create it for these characters that I've watched in some fiction stories. I can make these characters do whatever I want. That sounds kind of weird. But essentially, it is good in the sense of self-expression. It's a way of you to express these ideas, especially in the cases of people with aphantasia. Again, it's not lacking. People with aphantasia, even people like me, can still visualize and imagine stuff, but this is just something that is more visually concrete, you know? And that is very interesting. It is, again, also a way of like socialization, but again, it is more nuanced as I've discussed before. But it is definitely very interesting. Using those freedom, we are then free to make these videos. Yeah, I don't know if that's actually a super duper good thing or not, but at the very least, if you wanted to create these videos that is catching on the trends or whatever, you can. And at the end of the day, yes, you may be burning your brain by basically creating the short form content, engaging with a lot of the short form content, burning your attention span, even socializing with your friends through the short form content. You're even burning through your parents' wallets by buying this gacha stuff, which is very exponentially expensive if you get really interested on some outfits and character presets, for example. But they are still fun. Games, at the end of the day, are still meant to be fun and entertaining to play with. And judging by how popular this game is, at the very least on the videos they are creating about it, a lot of people definitely seems to be enjoying these games, these Gacha Life Games by the Lunime studios. Yes, it is kind of predatory, but I don't think the devs itself, again, I'm putting a lot of leeway, but I don't think the devs itself is quite malicious, you know, malicious in their intent. They're trying to make these games that's the worst for your children. They're probably just trying to create a game that is fun to play with, a lot of people will enjoy. They're also trying to make a lot of money so they can keep alive. Yeah, they're probably actually focusing on the money aspect quite a lot, judging by how the name of the games itself is called Gacha. Yeah, I actually don't know if I want to defend these devs or not, actually. Anyways. What? What the heck is even going on, man? What the heck is even going on? And why the heck does this have 3 million views? In any case, Gacha Life is a very interesting set of communities, let's say. If you're curious about it as much as I do, go look it up yourself. It's pretty entertaining. I'm honestly super duper curious on why the most popular videos on Roxana is literally videos on Gacha Life characters of these Roxana characters reacting to these hypothetical scenarios. There just seems this disparity, okay, of my expectations and what is actually true with, I don't know. I'm rambling here. I hope this video is not too rambly and it's actually somewhat entertaining and you actually learn something a little bit. Potentially, hopefully. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great time because I sure did. You can go ahead, like, subscribe, share, and whatever if you want. And bye bye. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Happy New Year's.